MIL basically kidnapped my baby. So here's a little backstory. My spouse is the only kid in his family. His mother has always been very active. We got along well, although she constantly seemed to breach some limits. She has a key to our home solely for emergencies since she lives 4 blocks away. Our daughter was born 4 weeks ago. Since I've had her, she spent at least 3 days a week with me. She is always telling me what I'm doing wrong and how she would do things better. Baby wakes up every 2 hours and insists on sleeping through the night if she could remain at grandma's. I told her I didn't feel safe leaving a breast baby out for the night at 4 weeks. She persisted with the subject last week, no matter how many times I said no. We placed the baby in her crib last night. We quit room sharing since the baby was so noisy that I couldn't sleep, so my husband has been fetching her when it's time to nurse. Husband slept off and I nodded off as well. I awoke 4 hours later and became concerned since she had not made any noise. I was certain she had died of SIDS. When I entered her room, she was gone. I froze and began yelling her name throughout the house, as if she would appear as if it were all a joke. My spouse awoke in a panic and said, "What's going on?" over and over again. I reached for my phone to dial 911 when I saw a photo message from my mother-in-law showing my sleeping infant in her arms with the description "sleepover at Gamdam's." I was instantly outraged. I yelled so loudly that I nearly puked. When I phoned her, I saw crimson. I told her I was going to retrieve the baby and that she would never see her again or contact our family. My husband agreed it would be better if he went to pick her up. When he returned, he claimed his mother decided to allow herself in and give us a break, that she was confident we'd receive the text and that we'd thank her for a good night's sleep. I couldn't care less. I despise her. This is something I will never forgive her for. My hubby believes I should relax. All we need now is to reclaim our key. I want to divorce him because of his lack of urgency about the matter. We've never had problems previously, but this seems like a deal breaker to me. I always had PPA, but it's now skyrocketing. I don't feel secure in my own house, even though I live with my family. I despise my mother-in-law. I despise my hubby. When I think about what occurred, I start crying uncontrollably. I can't sleep now that I know I won't be able to safeguard my kid while sleeping. I can't believe I didn't wake up sooner. I feel like the most important part of my mom. If a true threat had arisen, I would have failed my daughter. Is it unreasonable for me to desire a divorce or to never see my mother-in-law again? My husband and mother-in-law believe it's because of my hormones and that I've overreacted. Am I being too dramatic? I simply needed to speak about it with others who weren't engaged. For hundreds of kilometers, I have no friends or relatives. Oh, and she also gave her formula when she was pregnant. But that's the least of my concerns. It still irritates me since nursing has been really difficult for us. I simply wanted to provide everyone with a brief update. I didn't answer, but I read every remark, and the encouragement I received meant a lot to me. Reading them made me cry because I finally felt like someone was on my side. I contacted my mother late yesterday night and booked a motel room. I didn't tell my husband where I was going, but I assured him that the baby and I would be safe. My mother is appalled by what I've gone through. She's boarding a plane today to come assist me. This whole incident has pushed me to the point where I need treatment. Therefore, my first item of business today is to get an appointment with a therapist as soon as possible. I decided to go alone for a bit and then go with my spouse to see if we could get beyond this. Right now, I still don't want to, but I also see that I'm not in a position to make life-changing choices. In any case, I will never return to that home. I'm not sure what my plan is beyond the next few days, so I'm just going to take it day by day for the time being. In terms of my MIL, I'm heading to the police station today to find out how to seek a restraining order. Her and my spouse are often stating, but she was unharmed. She was never in danger. I don't agree. My mother-in-law is plainly incapable of caring for a kid. Who knows what else she would do if she believed she was the only one who knew what was best. Thank you very much to everyone. I can't tell you how much encouragement I've received from strangers on the internet. Story 2. He's in love with his coworker. I am 8 months pregnant. My spouse, 32M and I 32F had been together for a year and a half and dated for about 2 months before we were married. It's all happened so quickly, but we were madly in love. We met in May, moved in together in November, and decided to try for a baby in February. We were both in love and certain that this was it. We had never felt such love and connection before. I became pregnant immediately away. Unfortunately, our baby died at the age of 10 weeks. We were heartbroken and resolved to try again as soon as possible. In April, he proposed. I found out I was pregnant again in May, on the anniversary of our first date. We were ecstatic. My first trimester was a disaster. I didn't puke, but I was exhausted all the time, incredibly hormonal, and every fragrance made me sick. I couldn't sleep close to him since smelling another human being made me sick. As a result, I pushed him away. We started bickering over stuff. I wanted to go since we were living in a tiny apartment in a dangerous section of town. He agreed, and we started looking. I got my 8-week scan in early June, and everything was good this time. We were overjoyed. In July, he began to become distant, most likely because I was, and he was just responding to my coldness, but I honestly felt like this every day. We battled about nothing, and he smashed his work computer as a result. For the first time, we went to see his grandparents. They have a difficult connection and have been out of touch for years due to his grandfather's unrealistic demands, but the weekend went well. We battled over money on the way back in the vehicle. We both earned the same amount of money, and he was concerned that it wouldn't be enough for the new apartment we picked, as well as my making less while on maternity leave. But it seemed like we figured everything out on the 4-hour journey home. He attended to his coworker's birthday celebration the next weekend. I encouraged him to go out, as I usually did when he wanted to. I advised him to have a good time and enjoy himself. I was frightened out of my mind when I woke up at 6 a.m. and he wasn't there. I eventually contacted him by contacting his colleague, who informed me that he was still present and that they were continuing socializing with a large group of people. He arrived home at midday. I was furious, but I immediately calmed down. He seemed to be repentant. His boyhood friends from their hometown paid him a visit the next weekend. They headed to a pub, which I supported and wished him a wonderful time. He returned about 2 or 3 a.m. That was just okay with me. This puts us in the month of August. We still battled sometimes, but things improved. My hormones leveled out, as they usually do in the second trimester. We agreed to a new lease. He seemed to be on board with everything. He continued to go out, much more so than before, and always with employees, and I never questioned it. We took a mini vacation, relocated, and had some small disagreements, but everything appeared to return to normal in September. We were finally having more after settling into our new home. But something didn't feel right. I'm not sure how or why, but I felt it. And I got the impression it had something to do with a female from his workplace whom I had never met. I had expressed my worries about her in August, but he argued that I was his partner, his love, and the one with whom he was definitely planned a future. As a result, I trusted him and let it go. On the 6th of October, he and his coworkers went out for drinks after work. He felt strange when he got home. So, although I'm not proud of it, when the cats woke me up by wreaking havoc in the living room and I saw his phone resting there, I went to investigate. I opened his phone and saw that his texts with her were still open. My pulse raced as I saw the first item I saw. They were plainly flirting, so I browsed for about 2 minutes before putting down the phone, going to the bedroom, waking him up, and asking him whether he was having an affair with her. He denied it until he couldn't. He admitted to making out with her at first, but coked together and had twice. Once while his pals were visiting, and once immediately thereafter during a workplace get-together. He said they used protection, but I don't trust him. They reportedly grew close during the cocaine-laced birthday celebration and in an alley the following weekend. I blew it. I attacked and kicked him, flung his phone, and removed my ring. He confessed to me that he had a crush on her. I asked that he contact her and break things immediately, which he did. But he informed me that he couldn't block and delete her on WhatsApp due of his affections for her. This is the start of a 2-month roller coaster ride. I insist that he change employment, and that he only enter the workplace when she is not there. They have a neat home office policy. He agrees, but then says he doesn't want to leave. Okay, I say, and then we do the only work contact and no working together in the office stuff. On the 20th, he informs me that his employer has requested that they go out to dinner. His affair partner, the boss, and 4 others from his tight circle at work. I state unequivocally that I am not all right with this. He tells me that his emotions for her are fading and that he must return to work, as only this would make him happy. He walks away. I'm worried sick, but there's nothing I can do. More work events occur, sometimes including the whole workplace, and other times involving just the tight circle. I finally give up and let him go. We never speak about it, but I'm sure they work together again in the workplace. We have our ups and the downs generally come just after an evening event. I also understand they must be messaging secretly since his WhatsApp alerts have been turned off. For a few weeks, I assumed that I had somehow broken his phone, or that something else was amiss, but I eventually concluded that it was because of her. He no longer sleeps at night, but instead gets up and walks to the sofa. The subject keeps coming up. He now claims to be in love with her but refuses to leave me and the kid. I spend a couple nights at my mother's house. I'm back. We get better, then we become worse. And now it's early December, and I'm 8 months pregnant. He still texts her on a daily basis. He claims he loves her and resents me for having to put his emotions for her aside, that my love and the new financial position as a result of the relocation are suffocating him, and that everything is easier and lighter with her. I keep telling him to go to her, but he never does. He swears nothing physical occurred after that, but I'm not sure I trust him anymore. He won't abandon me, but he also won't abandon her. I still adore him. I want nothing more than to make it work, to have a family, and to have the connection we used to have, when he confided in me rather than in her. But I'm not going to be able to force it. I also can't make him go, and just asking him to leave doesn't make him leave. I just can't bring myself to break up with him and throw him out. I just cannot. I make an attempt but fail. What in the world should I do? How can I deal with this betrayal, with the knowing that he wants to be with her, not with me, yet won't leave me alone? Help!